Welcome to the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, where we bring you a weekly dose of powerlifting news, tips, and training advice with a touch of 80s rock ballads. This podcast is presented by Team Roar Powerlifting, your source of the most comprehensive coaching and meet day preparation. Here are your hosts, Josh Rohr and Laura Sturm.
All right, I'd like to welcome Josh Rohr to the podcast. My coach, and actually how I stumbled into Josh Rohr as him being my coach was by accident. I didn't go out seeking a multi-time national championship coach, or now you've been a coach for the world team a couple times. And I think everything from beginners to world champions. But I kind of stumbled onto Josh Rohr as my coach by accident, just kind of being in the right place at the right time, or the wrong time, I'm not sure. Just someone who didn't show up when I was looking for a coach, and there was Josh. He handed me his card, and then that's how it evolved.
Awesome. And welcome to you, Laura Sturm, aka Where's the Bathroom at?
And the bubbler. Gotta find the bubbler.
So you went all serious. I went the opposite direction there.
It always makes fun of how I say the word bathroom.
Well, you just heard her say it. That's how she actually says it.
I see nothing wrong with that. It's maybe a New England thing. A Boston accent.
So before we get started, I got to wish a happy birthday to my mama. She is having a birthday today. Well, technically we're recording the day before her birthday, but Friday is her birthday. So happy birthday, Mom. I'm sure you're not listening to this garbage.
Nice. Well, hey, if you have to say happy birthday to your mother, tomorrow is my father's birthday.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, we have some birthday parents. Yay.
That's crazy. I never knew that.
He's not listening to this either. So there you go.
I wonder if anybody is.
They'll come. Don't worry about it. We'll keep doing this. It's fun.
All right. So before we move on, there's one thing we're going to, I guess, start our new segment called Foot in Mouth, basically where one of us screwed up. So last week I said that Sherman Ledford was the Georgia State chair for 10 years or something like that. I had the number right, except the title was wrong. He was for 10 years, he was the Open national team head coach. He was the Georgia State chair for over 20 years. So kind of sold him short there. And wanted to correct that, especially because he's planning on making an appearance on the podcast. There's a little teaser. You know what? I'm not even going to say why he's coming on the podcast. We'll leave that to. I will say he's coming on the podcast to talk about music and powerlifting history. So
he has some powerlifting history.
He does, but. I'm mostly interested, mostly because I've heard the powerlifting history, a lot of it already from him, but I find it really interesting, the music. So we're not sure exactly when that's going to be, possibly next week. We thought it might be today, but it didn't happen. So fingers crossed it'll be soon. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah. I feel like it's interesting how many powerlifters are deeply into music. I don't know if that's a sensory thing, how that really connects, but it's definitely true.
I like music.
I like turtles.
Awesome.
All right. So we have a Q&A from a listener. And since we can't have nationals this year due to COVID, some of the questions are around nationals from years past. So the best moments. Oh, I'm asking the wrong question. I'm sorry.
Doesn't matter.
You can just edit that out.
Go,
okay.
man.
So
we don't edit here. We just fly by the seat of our pants.
And we just take it back later.
And the listener, yeah. Right. All right. Go ahead. Sorry.
All right. Where did the idea of Primetime come from? So if people aren't aware of what Primetime is this awesome thing at nationals where the world-class lifters really are on their own platform at their own time so that they're just not jumbled up in the mix of the other 1,000 lifters.
Yeah. So awesome question. so we ran the first primetime session at Raw Nationals in 2016 here in Atlanta, Georgia. And the idea was kind of, technically it came from Patrick Anderson. It was kind of his idea, or at least the concept of it, but it kind of came from the idea that we were trying to put on a better production and higher spotlight for the top tier lifters. And it kind of, I mean, the concept kind of started, actually the first full power meet that I ran was the 2011 Georgia State meet. And we kind of did it up. We had intro music for all the lifters. They had their own song playing. We had tunnels that they came through. We had smoke machines that they walked through, which turned out to aggravate some people's asthma. So we had to shut them down. And then we had strobe lights and sirens up on top of the staging anytime there was an American record. So it was really just kind of this really cool production. Spent a lot of sleepless nights doing that. Anyway, fast forward to Raw Nationals. That was kind of the first time that we pulled it off on a big stage like that. Just talking with Patrick and some of those ideas that he had. And we just thought, well, why not just do a third session of the day and just take all of the top qualifying totals for each of those weight classes from that day and have them lift on one platform with 2 flights, and just have all of the top big name lifters vying for multiple open national titles in different weight classes in one session on one platform. And it really, I'll be honest, like it almost didn't happen. Because there was so much pushback on it, because it was something new that we hadn't really done before. And, I wanted to do it. And, luckily I got the backing from Larry, the president, and, the EC. They were all, on board with me trying it. I guess, if it went down in flames and it was on me, if it worked, then it looks good for the organization, I guess. But talking to a lot of the lifters, it was about a 50-50 split. Like, some of them said, no, we don't want to do that. Others were like, yeah, that sounds awesome. And the first night of Primetime on Thursday, lifting got done at about 2 a.m, a little after 2 a.m. So that was not as scheduled. So that kind of, I think, was probably a bad start to it. But after that, everything kind of ran on schedule and everybody seemed to really enjoy it. And, now that's kind of what everybody talks about is, I'm trying to qualify for primetime. So, step 1, qualifying for nationals, step 2, trying to qualify for primetime. So it's really taken off, and I think people have really embraced it, but I think it was just initially the fear of the unknown. Like, we don't know what this is going to be like. This sounds kind of out there. And to be honest with you, part of the reason that I went through with it in 2016 is because I chickened out in 2015. I ran collegiate nationals in 2015 in Atlanta, and that was the last year that it was only equipped. So there was only one division of all the weight classes. So it was my idea to actually do primetime there. And I polled all of the coaches, and they were adamant about not doing it. And I just kind of folded and went with what they wanted to do. So we didn't do it there, which kind of fueled me for doing it for Raw Nationals. Kind of, I don't want to say no matter what, but in my mind, like, I knew it was going to be awesome if people would just give it a chance and let it play out and see what it was like. So I guess that's kind of where it came from. That's why we did it. And I think everybody still likes it. So
I think it's been a pretty big hit. I remember the first prime time, in Atlanta, and watching Ray Williams squat over 1,000 pounds in prime time, which was pretty sick to see live. And all the spotters sitting there going, "Don't miss this, please don't miss this." Because really, what are you gonna do when you're spotting 1,000 pounds?
So really. Speaking of Ray, after that session ended, he was being interviewed by Patrick on a live stream, and you guys can actually still go back if you search for the 2016 Raw Nationals 120 plus class. He was being interviewed by Patrick Anderson after he did his, the first Raw 1,000-pound squat, and I think he hit an American record total at the time too. But anyway, we took the bar over to where he was being interviewed and actually had him autograph it. So the the bar from the first primetime session. It was used all 4 days, but it was also, finished up with Ray squatting the 1,005. We actually had him sign it, and it's actually sitting in the corner of my basement right behind me here, basically wrapped in bubble wrap and all that good stuff. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. It's been a while. I've talked to Ray about what he wanted to do with it. I'm not going to say that on here, but he has some interesting ideas that I think would be, really good ways to use it. But in the meantime, until we really figure it out, it's sitting here in the corner as a piece of powerlifting history.
Wow. Powerlifting memorabilia right there. Yep. Wow. That's awesome. All right. Well, since we're talking about memories and memorabilia, so tell me a little bit about what was your best moment or memory as a competitor? Because you weren't always just a coach, and
That's
you're still
true.
a lifter.
I resemble a lifter sometimes. Well, I guess that's not even true. Anyway, my favorite memory is probably the first collegiate national title that I won. It was my sophomore year of college in 2004. The previous year I lifted, it was my first national meet. I got 6th place, and I lifted raw because I didn't even know what equipment was. And back then there was no raw division. So I lifted against lifters that had equipment, and I still placed 6th. So that was kind of cool. But my first collegiate title was the following year. It was in Omaha, Nebraska. And I remember I pulled 606 in the 165 weight class to win. And I looked back at the results after the fact, and that was not the correct number. It was, so I had the last deadlift of the session because I had the highest deadlift, but I only needed a 2.5 kilo jump from my second attempt to win. And my coaches at the time gave me a 10 kilo jump, and I barely got it. So if I would have missed it, I would have ended up in 2nd place. So obviously I'm very fortunate that I got that, but we had a little talk about numbers after the fact, about how to pick numbers and stuff. But it was a good time. Like it was really the first meet that I feel like I actually performed kind of how I was expecting myself to. All of my numbers that they picked throughout the rest of the day were right on. I don't think I had 2.5 kilos left in my squat. I don't think I could have pulled 606 again if I had to. It was literally a limit for me, and luckily it all worked out. So that was the first meet that I won at the national level, and probably my favorite, just because it's hard to forget the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably the one for me.
That's awesome. All right. Well, we'll move right on to the track of the week. So going back to the music side of powerlifting and power ballads, we have the track of the week back from the Josh Forrest CD that he gave out with Christmas presents back when people made CDs.
And you can see the cover of it on Instagram. If you go to PL Ballads podcast on Instagram, we got a picture of it up there. Obviously, the songs are blacked out because we're not giving them away yet.
No, don't want to tell people the songs. It'll be revealed in 20 shows, and then after that, we're not
in due time.
Talk about. All right, so the track of the week on track 5 is Cheap Tricks, The Flame. So why did you pick that song?
Well, because it's a great song. You don't need a reason. Great songs pick themselves. I don't know. It's just one of those songs I really like and enjoy, so it made it on the list.
Yeah.
Oh, fun trivia. There is it's not really in the works. There is a list of Josh Rohr's favorite power ballads, volume 2. There is a list made, but it just hasn't been ever produced.
Oh, really?
So maybe at some point it may get released, but
I think we have a topic for the episodes for after we go through all of these now.
Everybody's like, oh, damn it. Get over the songs already.
Well, music is an important part of lifting. Do you know anyone who lifts in silence? I mean, I guess there are probably people, but.
I can think of one. I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but one of the meets that we were doing where we had the intro music, she requested silence. So we're playing songs for every lifter. And then when she came up, like we literally would just hit stop and it would just be like dead silent. And everybody's like, what's going on? And she'd go out and lift and then we'd put the song back on for the next person.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. It was
See,
weird.
that's a unique individual, because
Yeah.
I don't know anybody else who doesn't like lift just a little bit more with that right song.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, and I would agree. Cheap Trick the Flame is a great song. It's one of those that just gets you every time.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, I put it on the CD.
Best songs of all time.
Best songs of all time.
For sure.
So I was actually training this morning. I went a little bit out of left field. I had some DMX on, and well, I had some Prince on too. Prince. So I have a interesting mix of when I'm training. I usually have like a little bit of country will play. The next song will be like Prince. Next will be like Young Jeezy. It's all over the place. So I'm sure everybody cares. Like, why? Who cares?
Well, I've definitely heard you listen to some songs that I probably wouldn't have picked for lifting, like, you know, Belinda Carlisle or
There's always Michael Jackson. Oh, you know what? Yes, Billy Ocean.
Billy Ocean.
Caribbean Queen.
Yes. I think you did a 5-minute burpee challenge to that song.
I did. That was a dark period of time in my life.
Don't have to ever go back there.
Nobody should ever do burpees. They're rough.
They are.
So this has nothing to do with anything, but I listen to Billie Jean, and Gino always likes to make fun of me about it, but he doesn't know the lyrics. So he's like, Billie Jean is not my girl, but that's not the lyrics. So
no, come on, Gino, do better.
Yeah, maybe he does know. Maybe he does know the lyrics. Maybe he's just making fun of it in general. I don't know.
Hey, but you know, a little shout out to Gino, because I know some people give him grief about his music. I have always loved his music. He always just would pick out the right thing at the right time, turn it up just right, bring it down when it's needed. Shout out to him. He's made meets awesome.
That's an underappreciated aspect of Meet Day, of the DJ and MC, is being able to turn the music up and down and play the songs like based on the current situation. Like if it's, you know, opening bench press, you don't need to be playing heavy metal blasted super loud. Like that, right. That's pointless.
Yep.
And I think, to me, it's more important to have music that gets the crowd energized, because you can't replicate crowd energy by having a song, in my opinion, having a song playing specific to an individual that may make the rest of the crowd be like, man, this is terrible music. And they just sit there quietly, like covering their ears. So I'd much rather have a song that the crowd gets into and you can feel the energy as a lifter, like from the crowd. That to me, that's more effective, even if it's maybe not the personal song that you would choose. And if you disagree with me, well, yeah.
Wrong.
Does anybody disagree with me? Nope. Okay.
Oh, let's see. Don't hear anybody. Yeah.
Gave you a chance.
Well, they'll have to go ahead and DM you at PL Ballads Podcast, or email at plballadspodcast@gmail.com if they disagree, and give you a music suggestion for the next album.
I think it's safe to say this episode is probably, we're phoning it in today. We're both of us are just like, you know what? Let's just get this done. We don't really have anything super interesting to talk about. So, you know,
I kind of disagree right there, Josh, because we talked about where Primetime came from, and I think that was an important topic. So
yeah, that's true. I guess a lot of people don't know, because I mean, there's people on our team that I just mentioned, we were just talking about it, and they're like, wait a minute, Raw Nationals was in Atlanta before? Like, yeah, I was the meet director.
You were the meet director.
You were the meet director. And
we volunteered for days. Our team volunteered for days.
Yeah, that was true. Like, and that's one thing I want to point out. and then I'll end my rant and we can get on with our day, but I don't think people realize the amount of work and staffing that it takes to put on events. So, and that's how I got into running meets to begin with. Is I don't know if let's call it what it was. I was complaining about how some of the meets were, and I thought this should have been done better, that should have been done better, and I swear I don't remember who I was talking to, but they literally just said, well, then quit complaining and run a meet and do it better. And that's kind of how I got started. It's just like somebody just called me on my shit.
I like it.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
That's kind of how I ended up getting started running meets. And I guess that's the biggest challenge, I think, was having enough people to do all of the things that we really wanted to do. Like I mentioned, we did the intro music and, the tunnels and all those things in that 2011 Georgia State meet, but the amount of people it took to pull that off was crazy. So, people that want these cool things like that, it can be done, but it just takes people. So, I guess call to action, all of you people out there that want meets to be better or bigger, like step up.
Right. Or more of them.
Out. Or more of them. Yeah.
Yep.
It just takes people. And, meet directors, I can almost with certainty say a meet director will not tell you, no, we don't want you. Like if you're available to help, like almost every time we can use you.
Yes. I have had my entire roster filled up on Sign Up Genius and have people email me, do you need help? And I'm like, yes. I don't know what I'm going to have you do, but show up, because somebody else won't show up.
Yeah.
That's always the thing that is awful too. As a meet director, you have somebody slated in for a certain role at a certain time, and then they don't show up.
Yeah.
And that's the worst.
Yep. And then, anything that they were planning on doing, it just kind of gets either taken on by you and then you can't do your other stuff that you're supposed to do, or it just falls through the cracks. So yeah, we always need people. So
yeah. Volunteer, please.
Volunteer. Cool. All right. Well, I'm done talking to you.
Oh, okay. I'm done talking to you.
All right. But for real, guys, definitely shoot us an email. She already mentioned it, plballadspodcast@gmail.com and plballadspodcast on Instagram and Facebook. If you guys have any questions, topics you want us to cover, if you want to do whatever, send us a message. We'd love to hear from you. We're getting going crazy in our own minds trying to think of stuff to talk about. So
wow. I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, we'll be all right. Cool. All right. Well, thanks guys for tuning in, and we will catch you next time.
All right. Bye now.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode of the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, please remember to subscribe and share it with your friends.